Hello and welcome to Creator Spotlight. I'm Grace Duffy with Restream, and today I am joined by my friend and, quite frankly, my go-to resource when it comes to all things live streaming, Luria Petrucci. Luria, how are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm so happy to be here. Every time I'm with you, Grace, I just get extra happy. I mean, I'm already happy, but I get extra happy. I love you.
I love you too. Well, we have got a powerful, pumped show. I was just telling Luria as we were in the green room here that it was such a joy and a pleasure to come up with these questions. And it's so great when you get to interview your friend. So I'm so excited. It's almost like it is literally a conversation with my friend. So, but if
It
you,
is.
if you do not have the pleasure of knowing Luria, let me introduce you. She is the founder of Live Streaming Pros, which you can find streaming weekly on Facebook and on YouTube. She is a live video strategist focused on helping you grow your business with more authentic and professional live videos. And she's been live streaming since 2007 and has been doing live and has used video for even longer than that. She has grown audiences over 2 million people, uh, grown audiences of over 2 million people in previous businesses, has built a six-figure business, and has worked with some of the biggest brands and biggest names in tech, as you will soon find out in our conversation today. And she has personally been my, like I said, resource and go-to and my inspiration for many years. I've known her way before I came to Restream, and she has always been a delight and always been a treasure trove of information. So
Oh,
I I love you so much, Maria.
what the best intro. But today, this isn't about me. This is about tech and about women and non-binaries and about all of the stuff that you're going to talk about, which is why I'm super pumped to be here. Who cares about me?
No, we're gonna talk about you a little bit. We gotta talk about you a little bit, okay? Like I feel the same way too. I'm like, don't talk about me. I want to talk about all the cool things. But we are
Yeah. All
here.
right, let's get to the good stuff.
Let's get to the good stuff. It is because like you, I also feel this way too, and I think you do too. It's we're not doing this for us. We're doing this for
Exactly.
the work. We're doing this for
Yeah.
getting this message out. But I invited Luria here today to talk about remote live producing this huge kickoff event for BFF, a new
It really just
online
shows
community
where
for
are we in
women
this
and
journey. And the headline is,
non-binary folks. And this was
Web
created to
1.0 took
demystify all
about
things
15 years.
crypto,
Web 2.0 took
NFT,
maybe
Web
10 years.
3.0.
I can't tell you how
And
fast Web
it's
3.0 is
such
going
a
to happen,
pleasure to do
but
this
it's
today
happening a
because it
lot
is actually
faster. And
Transgender
basically, we're in the
Visibility
early
Day
innings here, and
here.
it
So
begins to
what
show you
a
how this is
great
going to move.
fortuitous,
It's
as we were planning
collectibles
this
and
a
art
month
and
ago, I
gaming,
didn't
but
realize
soon it's
that.
going to
So
move
this is quite
beyond
fortuitous that we're
into
here today to
culture,
talk about
metaverse.
that.
I would
But
argue is
my
already
first
in culture in
question
many
to
ways.
you, Maria,
But
is
we're
how
in the
did you
early
get
innings, and we
involved
can
in
see so
this
much
particular
happening. So,
project?
Sheila, I'd love for you to
Well,
wrap.
to be fair, like Britt Morin and Jamie Schmidt, this is their baby. This is their event and their brand, BFF Minted. And they are amazing at what they do. And their goal was to really bring together a bunch of just powerhouses of people who believe in the mission of connecting women and non-binaries to get more involved in tech spaces earlier on than we tend to as a group. And the NFT space is a up and coming space. And what the mission of this event was really to help women understand it, help women feel comfortable asking questions, right? Get involved and get into the participatory mode as opposed to the observatory mode faster and quicker, so that we can, because we tend to take a step back and then come in late, right? As a just as a standard. And so I just loved their mission, and I was so proud to be a part of it. But it was really just our production company running the behind the scenes tech of this event. So their baby, our production.
Yes, absolutely. So one of the most remarkable things about this here, let me switch us back. We're trying to, oops.
All the fun.
All the fun with all the graphics. So yeah, there you go. Yeah. So this is live video, guys.
This is
What
live.
happened.
This is
is
all the
us.
fun. Yeah.
We're all doing this while we're on camera. So one of the most remarkable things about this event, and like you said, there are many remarkable things about this event, was that it brought together over 50 women and non-binary folks across various industries, tech, design, business. These are all the founding BFF. So yes, my producer here, Randy's bringing up. So this is just half
Yeah.
of the viewers, and if you scroll in, you'll see a lot of famous people like
Yeah.
Mila Kunis and Gwyneth Paltrow, just to
And
name a few
there's
people,
Amy
right?
Porterfield as well.
Jasmine
You've got
Star.
Jasmine Star, yeah, and a ton of people who you may. Oh, there's Randy Zuckerberg there. A lot of people you may not recognize their faces, but they do very great work on the behind the scenes, right? And so that's why they're there as well. And just if you did your research on all these people, I was just like, whoa.
I did my research and I watched it, and as they were bringing up and doing the intros, I was like, "What? What? Like, what have I been doing? Like, what am I doing
Yeah.
with my life? Like, these are some this is but the event wasn't even about the host, I will have to say. Like, there were 50 different people hosting it, and when I last checked last night, it had reached 51.5 million people, and I saw a tweet from them saying that when they initially invited people, I think they had a response of 20,000 people saying, yes, I want to watch all this. And they had some
Yeah.
stats in the chat about like the demographics of each of these people. But it was all about giving people of all kinds a seat at the table and empowering them to get educated, connected,
Yes.
and financially rewarded in the world of crypto and that Web3 space. So tell us what it took to coordinate and bring all of these people from wherever they are together in this one live stream.
Yeah. Well, from Britt and Jamie, they have all of those relationships, and they were able to kind of bring in the all of the people who participated on camera in that Zoom picture that you saw, and from the behind the scenes, we had to coordinate just the technical side, right? Like getting everybody together. Now, the great thing about what we did here in this particular scenario, and if you're interested in remote production, the beauty is, and the complicated thing is that you can do any number of types of interaction and in various forms of remote production using various tools, right? And so we in this particular one, this was kept very simple because of the vast number of people in all of the different places and bringing them all together. As you can imagine, with the type of people that were involved in this project, they had limited time, right? So it was very important to keep it very simple. And so everybody came in on Zoom, and it was easy for them because they didn't have to worry about like, okay, I have to set this thing up and I have to do this thing, right? It was, let's focus on the content. Let's create an environment where it's like super casual, hanging out with friends, right? And so Zoom was a great way to do this and connect everybody very easily and create that feeling that Britt and Jamie wanted to create. So, from a wrangling standpoint, it definitely, took a lot of tech setup on the back end, but it also took tech checks with all of the participants. So we had one tech check the day prior with the primary hosts, the people who were actually going to speak on camera, because not all of 50 participants, or how many ever there were, not all of them didn't talk. But so anybody who was going to talk, we tried to get in, earlier, and make sure that everybody had good internet, right? Good cameras, and not even good cameras, right? So this is one of the things that you might notice there. Not everybody was coming in on a full production, and so that again lent itself to that really casual hanging out with friends feeling. But it's the job of the remote producer to make them look as good as possible using even a webcam on the computer and an onboard mic in some cases, right? So that tech check was a really important part of wrangling everybody together and making it as high quality as possible, because that provides the audience with a great experience.
We're in these really, oops, I think I muted myself there. I said, as I was saying, many of the hosts, many of the presenters online were in private, intimate spaces, like their homes. They were clearly in their living room and in a private space, and it had that, and each of them had a very different tech, lighting, camera situation, and I know live studio spaces is kind of your thing as you sit there in your amazing studio right now. Like, how important is it on for a live video production that everything does look flawless and everything does? I mean, I think with an event this massive, everyone, it has that like feel and that you're just sitting like in front of a camera talking to the person directly like we would like a video call, or you're chatting with someone on your phone. But how important is it to make sure that everyone looks flawless when you're doing a live video event like this?
In most productions, it's very, very important. But at the end of the day, it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. And in this particular case, that's not the general feel that they wanted. And they did want that casual hangout experience. And so sometimes the better production, looks very different and gives off a different feel, right? It gives off that more professional feel. While I'm great at sitting in front of this, massive production. And did I just hit a sound bite? Sorry.
No,
if I did.
you have
Okay.
you have your seat, like you have your studio. So
Yeah.
okay, everyone here, we're looking at Luria's studio. Walk us through all these monitors and what you have going on there, if you don't mind. Talk to us
Yeah,
through
for sure.
what's happening there.
Well, so like this crazy setup, right? We have production. I have a second computer coming in. I have my comment computer over here. I have my workstation over there with a second monitor, right? I have multiple behind the scenes cameras. I can flip to that if we want to later, but like, this isn't the type of setup you want with certain productions like the BFF event, right? Because it's a little bit scary for people who aren't used to standing in front of this and to be relaxed and to be, their normal cool self, right? So I think that it would have changed entirely. Let's say, a kit was sent out to every single participant that had a great camera and a great mic and all of that, which is something that our production company does. But if we had done that, I think it would have been a more stressful for the participants and less of the impact that it actually had. So I was really happy to see that. And so when it comes down to the question of how important is it? It depends on your end goals. For a lot of productions, it is absolutely important to have that high quality professional feel. And so, you got to start with the end result in mind, always, 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 with every type of production you ever do. Do we want to talk about like the tools and stuff? Like, since we were talking about all of this?
Yes. Talk to me about the tools that you use. Obviously, this was Zoom. We're all familiar with Zoom.
Yes.
We all know it very, very well. But talk to us about the tech setup. Yeah, like what did it take to get all of this together and out to the world?
Yeah. In some productions, it requires, if we are going to go like super, super high tech, then it's multiple computers. And actually, I have a video on our YouTube channel about a virtual event that we did that was huge tech setup. And, that you can see the kind of the behind the scenes of what that kind of thing looks like. But in this video, or in this event, it was literally just Zoom, Ecamm, and Restream. So everybody came into Zoom, super easy. We used Ecamm for the graphics and production, and then sending out through Restream for the simulcasting capabilities. And literally, holy cow. I meant to look up the number of of destinations there were. It was somewhere in the range of like 12 or 15, a lot of different places that it was going out to, right? And so, but is it from a tech standpoint? pretty simple. There were 3 production teams. So 2 video production teams, one running the show, basically switching graphics, that kind of thing, right? And the second video production team running the video and audio sources, bringing the right people up from Zoom into the production at the right time, and then, mixing it all together. And so, those were 2 different remote teams. And then there was a third team, which is the moderation team. Because we were going through so many locations, I think there were 8 to 10 mods. We have trained mods who know how to deal with problems and how to match the brand's voice and all of that, right? It's a very important piece that most people who stream or who are doing events, like, they don't have people who can do that. And so that was a really, really important piece of this puzzle, outside of just the tech. It's the team behind that, right? And so we have a head mod who's managing all of that, making sure that everything is going smoothly. Any issues arise, they're dealt with. Also feeding back general like thoughts or kind of brain spaces of the audience back to the hosts, Britt. And I got to tell you, Britt was an amazing host. Like, she's just so good at what she does. But anyway, I just can't, every time I talk about her, I'm like, she was amazing. But yeah, so like the mod team, make sure that she knows that there are, like, what's going on. Do you need to back up? Do you need to restate something because everybody's confused? Or is everybody happy, keeping her happy? There are multiple things that need to be relayed in a very organized manner, in order for the host to have what they need to create that best production possible for their viewer.
Absolutely. I love that. Well, I'm going to throw an audible to you. Okay. This is not, you can totally handle it, of course. And Britt did do a really good job hosting. She was flawless. She went through an agenda. She went through all this stuff. But did you work with a run of show? Like, I know a lot of this was like you're inviting people to come speak and it was very spontaneous, but how much of this was kind of, I don't want to say scripted because it really didn't have that scripted feel, but how much of it with this many people operating, did you have like a run a show that everyone like was going through as the production was going on?
Yeah, I would not do a production without a run of show. Absolutely not. Let me take it one step further. Abso-freaking-lutely not.
You and I are the same. I'm just like, we got to run with the structure and start with the why.
Yeah.
And why are we doing this?
Totally. Now, there was an in-depth run of show where everybody knew what was happening, what camera switches needed to be made, what host was supposed to speak. And that was, that's the piece that I think most people, when they're doing either their own simple production or remote productions for other people, that's the piece that gets missed because it's not the piece that gets talked about, right? We talk about the tech, we talk about all the fun stuff, but that run of show is the most vital piece of a production of any kind. Even for simple 1-hour streams, I have a run of show. It can be simple, it can be complex, but in this particular case, it required, a spreadsheet with multiple columns, who, time frame, how much time allotted for that space, for that segment, what the segment was, how we were going to transition, right? Camera switches, graphics that needed to be added, audio that needed to be added, any asset that needed to be added was marked in that spreadsheet. And so that allowed the production teams to be able to say, like, okay, like, this is coming up. Okay, we're going to do this. Now, there were a couple of wrenches thrown in that, as there always are while you're doing a live show. The run of show didn't get followed exactly because of on-the-fly decisions that Britt had to make, right? And that some of them were like right before the show started, we decided to change things up, or during the show needed to make up some time, so skipped a segment, right? And that, from a remote production standpoint, the producers have to be really on top of making sure that they know what's coming, and not just what's coming next, but the whole run of show has to be thought through, understood, and internalized before production happens. That way, if something does get moved or skipped, it's easier to kind of head to that space, right? And on the fly adjustments of pulling the right people then at the new right time, right?
Exactly. Well, I'm going to bring up this comment real quick here from, oh, it jumped from, this is from one of your peer channels.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
tech coach. He says the best laid plans, got to stay flexible.
Yeah.
Is
So,
that
well,
not the truth?
but it is. Oh, it is so true. And Kathleen here, your tech coach, Kathleen, was doing, like, with our virtual event, Expand Your Reach in January. She was the run of show controller, and so she knows this extremely well. Like, she had to manage all of the things. When I went over on time, she had to make up that time on the show, right? And so you have to have somebody who is managing that, if you're going to do it to the extent that you want it to be a smooth production. And, like, for instance, in our production and in the our virtual event and then the BFF event, like, people had no idea that those changes were being made. If I, as a host at my event, had been trying to manage all of that and host, it doesn't work. I got to tell you, right?
No, absolutely not. Well, I will tell you that for this setup we have here, which is pretty simple, it's, two of us talking in the
Yeah.
Restream studio together. I actually have a remote producer of my own. We're using the team feature in
Yes.
Restream. So I have Randy, who is our video production guy, running the show behind the scenes, and we have a very strict run of show that he and I follow. So even
And I guarantee you, I'm giving you I'm giving you I'm throwing a wrench in your plans in your show run of show.
No, you absolutely are not, actually, because I feel like you and I planned this together and co-hosted it. Like, I'm telling you right now, Luria is just that capable at like guiding this, because, and you're bringing up stuff that I was like, oh yeah, that's a good question. Ask yourself that. But anyway, that's how you know you're working with the pro. And I think that's what it is. Like, when you work with good people and you've got good chemistry and things are working out, it does well. But even for a production like this, I have a run of show, and I'm the one that threw an audible to you. So, don't worry about it. But you brought up a good, go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just going to tag on to that, because, like, that's the beauty of, the different, I was talking about the different levels of production, right? Of remote production. And it is as simple as, right, what you were doing here, Restream Studio with the Teams feature, right? Bringing in a remote producer. You can do interviews, all of that. You can still have that run of show, so you're staying on top of content, right? And it can be as simple as that, or as complicated as, like, what we did at our virtual event, right? So, like, there are different levels in terms of how you can go about that. And again, it depends on your tech capabilities. It depends on your desires for stress level. And it depends on the end result that you're trying to accomplish.
Absolutely. So you brought up tech issues, which is just, you've been doing this way longer than I have, but we've both been doing this for quite some time. And, when you're going live, things get out of whack. Off camera stuff happens. Like, I've had the sound cut off. I've had my mic stop working in the middle. I had a stream end unexpectedly. I don't know. Oh, I do know what happened. I'm not going to say what happened because I don't want to end the stream. I did not say nice things about a certain book of faces, and every time that happens,
oh no!
So I'm gonna keep that out of my mouth. Okay. Oh, at one point, my co-host, he was in a hotel room, and he had everything set up. We'd been preparing this for weeks because he was traveling and got everything set up. And then, as our stream went live, the hotel started jackhammering outside of his window. So that was my first time going solo on a live. So, well, we're completely solo, but it was still fun. So, but as a remote producer, how do you prepare for the times when things go, let's just say, off the rails, right? Like, do you have any advice for our audience of, like, you can prepare, but how do you handle it in the moment? It is very nerve-wracking to know what to do.
Yeah, for sure. And part of being a professional is understanding how to deal with in the moment fixes. And that takes practice, it takes experiences. I've been doing this stuff for 16 years, and I have been involved in multi-million-dollar productions, and I've been involved in tiny productions, right? Like the whole gamut. It does not matter. I have never been involved in any one of those productions that it didn't go completely 100% smoothly. And that's a really important thing to understand, is that it is not a matter of if something is going to go wrong. It is a matter of when it goes wrong and how to deal with it. And so the first thing is breathe. That is your first step when something goes wrong. You can scream inside, and you've got to be, collected on the outside. So it's a skill that you kind of gain, but what you don't want to do is just freak out, right? You go immediately into troubleshooting mode, and in the BFF event, right, things went wrong. People forgot to unmute, or couldn't, like, somebody would turn their video off when they're supposed to be on, or something like that, right? Or any number of tech issues, but the audience never knew it. And that, you can guarantee any production that you're watching, if it has a producer behind it, there are things going wrong, but the audience never has to know about it. And that just takes some experience in terms of know-how. It takes technical experience to know how to troubleshoot and fix things, right? But you just got to be calm on the outside. So if you're the host, you can laugh it off. You can say that's live. You can just, have fun with it, but you never want to over apologize. Like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. We're going to get this fixed. I'm sorry. Because the audience doesn't care. The audience cares about your attitude, and they will be a direct reflection of your attitude. Even though things did technically go awry on the back end, and there were moments of panic from the production side, let's just be honest, right? The audience, like, there wasn't a single comment about anything. The only comments were, this is, like, so good, like, either about the content, like, I love this is amazing, thank you so much for doing this. And on the production side, they were saying this was the best production they'd ever seen, right? So, like, it doesn't matter, there were things going wrong, but they saw was
2 to 3 times in this category globally. We know that only 5% of NFT creators are female, and we know that only, sadly, 4% of crypto entrepreneurs are female.
So quite an impact. So, crypto entrepreneurship is a projected to be a multi-trillion dollar industry with 135% year over year growth. I think I took that stat from their presentation.
Yeah.
And women are just, you saw from that clip, women are simply just not participating in the same numbers as other people. And this is despite all the books, all the podcasts, all the talk
Right.
shows, I went to a financial conference last fall, and it was all about it. Like, that's all everyone talked about. And so, of all the ways there are to teach, to educate, to include, what do you think it was about this live video format that reaches women and non-binary folks in a way that no other medium can?
Yeah. I think that the rawness and the connection point of live video makes such a massive difference in helping people feel connected to something bigger than themselves, which is what this event is all about. And, when you can see in chat that other people have the same questions as you, as opposed to a podcast where you're siloed, and feeling like an idiot, right? Like, because I don't know what that means. And believe me, I felt like an idiot throughout the entire event, because I was like, this is the first time I've really, like, listened to all of these terms and tried to figure out what it means. And it was very eye-opening. But that feeling of connection and community and just authenticity is massively important for helping people feel more involved and ready to go, as opposed to letting them just do it on their own.
Absolutely. So, you and I are both women in this space, and we're both in the business of helping others go live too. You especially, I have to add. And I have to say, generally speaking, and I will speak for myself here, women tend to have a harder time getting on camera. There's a lot of pressure of the way we look, how we sound. I mean, I have this joke with my regular co-host Jeff that like it takes me an hour to get ready and it takes him 5 minutes. He's like, I think I showered today. And I'm like, must be nice, right? So how do we empower more women and non-binary folks to get in front of the camera and shine? And I don't know about you, but like if someone gets on their phone and they just start talking to me, I mean, there's a lot of new video platforms out right now, and like their hair isn't done or their makeup isn't done or whatever. Like, I don't even care what they're wearing, right? Like, just yeah, I want to talk to them, and I think that's the general sense. But when
Yeah.
you're on camera, like, I don't know that I would feel that comfortable with that.
So I want to challenge that, right? And I hear a lot of women say that, like, oh, it takes me an hour to get ready. First of all, it takes me 10 minutes max to get ready. Like I want to spend as little time in front of that mirror as possible. I am in and out. But just because like I don't ultimately care and I have better things to spend my time on, right? But I also have heard men say things like, well, women don't get on camera as much because it takes more for them to get ready. And I think that that's a very dangerous place to be in society where there's this idea that men and women have to be different in that sense. And so from a perspective of general society, I mean, we have to fix that feeling of acceptance. Individually as women and non-binaries, we have to accept ourselves with however we are and put that out in the world. There are many times I show up without makeup or not looking good or whatever, but what's good? Like literally, I've had these open conversations with my audience. They don't care. Like you just said, like if somebody shows up, you don't care what they're watching. We are putting this on ourselves, even though it's really this age-old society issue. But we also have the full capability to change our own language so that we can stand in our own power and just show up however we are, because we think that people care or we are worried about what they will think. Stop that. Like we've got to end that as a team of women and non-binaries. We've got to band together and feel the acceptance. Because, people don't really ultimately care about what you look like. They care about what you're saying.
Absolutely. Well, it starts with us. It starts with us.
It does start
and it
with
starts
us.
now, and it starts here, even though you've been doing this work for a very long time, but I'm going to start right now. I wanted to bring up these comments. So this was really funny. This is from your friend Kathleen again. Your tech coach, my pre-show tech. Do I have clothes on? Cool,
Yes.
ready to roll.
Exactly.
There are times. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and the more women who do show up raw and not fully made up, the more it becomes accepted as a whole. But also, even without that societal overview acceptance, it is up to each individual to show up as they are. And honestly, Amy Porterfield said this once because I was having this conversation with her. She said, if it makes you feel good, right? If you're having a crappy day, let's be honest. Like if I'm having a crappy day, there are days when I'm like, in order to show up and have energy, like I need to take a shower and put on some makeup and do my hair because that's going to give me a little bit more confidence. Whether that should be the case or not, but if you do what makes you feel good, but if you're doing it because you think that somebody just you need to, like, that's where the problem is.
Absolutely. I have another a friend of ours, Holly Lee, who I met at Vid Summit, who is
Yes.
awesome, by the way. She says, we don't care what you
Love
look
Holly.
like. Your content is gold. And
Yes.
absolutely,
Yeah.
she's one of those people that shows up and is real too. So I love that.
Yeah.
Just going through all the rest of these comments. Oh, this one is hair makeup really helps with
It
confidence.
can.
Yeah, true. Oh, Holly
but
says tough girl.
also, you know, but again, that goes back to the conversation of is that because of what we have been trained, you know, for thousands of years, right? Hundreds of years, whatever it is. I don't do live math. But yeah.
I don't do live math. I love this one. I don't care how you look as much as how you sound. Audio matters more than image quality.
Yes,
Yep,
for
there you go.
sure.
As long as we sound good and feel good, we will look good and we will feel good, and that's what it's about. So, okay, so switching back to this event, so it was BFF Minted kickoff. It lasted over 2 hours.
Yes.
It was supposed to only be an hour and a half, and then they're like, "Well, we'll stay and answer some questions," and it went for like over another half hour because it was just pure excitement and energy.
Yes.
And if you're watching, like if you go and find it on YouTube, which is where I was watching it, the stream has reached 51.5 thousand people, and you can see there's over 100 comments on there, and then as you're watching it, you see the live chat scrolling. It was just flying, and it was just people are exciting. And then right here in the stream, you paired your channels to this, and I'm seeing your audience, your people talking to each other, checking in on each other. They're having this conversation, and it's amazing. This amazing community, which is a credit to you, Luria, about this amazing community that you have built. I have seen nothing but supportive and kind comments. And as a remote producer or a host, how do you keep an audience engaged and excited and together this for that long of a production? Because I will tell you, when I found it was like 2 hours, like 2 hours. And then next thing you know, I was like, but I want more.
Well, it's a great question. First of all, I'm going to back up and, the community started with me in terms of building it and bringing it together. But, our community manager, Callie Fabro, has taken it to the next level. So the fact that you see people like chiming in and checking in on each other and stuff like that, that takes work and that takes effort and that takes involvement, but it also takes the right attitude, all the way around, just to point that out. And in terms of, this event, keeping people engaged, you're right. The chat room was flying by, like you probably just watched YouTube on all the channels, like comments were just flying by. And that's the sign of a great community. A lot of this, there are multiple pieces to creating something that people are engaged with. So in this particular event, they promoted it in advance, right? And they got people excited, right? I always talk about building buzz. That is a vital piece to getting people to stick around, making sure they understand why to stick around. So that happens before the event, that happens in the content during the show itself. That happens as the moderating team, keeping the audience engaged, asking those questions, answering them, helping them connect with others. That also helps with other outside forces like community engagement inside of a Discord, right? So things like that. The more, and I'm not saying you have to be everywhere and do all of the things, but the more you put on community depending on even if it's a 2-hour one-time event or if it's a weekly live stream on your channel, it doesn't really matter. All of those things, that focus on community is what's going to drive that end result. So you need to think about the language. You need to have some specific strategies for getting people involved. And then your content needs to flow well. And that's where the run of show comes in. Each segment was 5 to 7 minutes on average. So not that long. It didn't drag on. There were moments of teaching mixed with moments of, seeing everybody on Zoom and hanging out, fun quick things that happened, deep conversations, right? So like having a 2-hour event where people are there to learn and connect, you need to have that end result and build that content out for that as well. And a lot of keeping people engaged is the visual aspect. Had they just shown up on Zoom and done the speaker view and sent that out to the live stream, that would be a possibility, right? Technically speaking, but it wouldn't be as engaging. So when you set yourself up for visuals and camera switches and having different things happen on screen, and you can take that even further than we did with the BFF event, those visual aspects, people don't realize how important they are for keeping people engaged, paying attention, because we have, as human beings, very bad attention spans. What is the rat? Like, I think we're worse than rats at this point, right?
I think we're probably worse than goldfish at that point. No, it is a good
Oh,
point
goldfish.
because
That's right. Well, I don't know why I said rats.
rats, goldfish, whatever. We can't even pay attention to that. So, but it was a very dynamic event. And now that you brought up that it did switch every 5 to 7 minutes, and each person was very succinct, or they talked long, or they got really adept, or it was just. But it was a very dynamic, moving event. So that's a good way to keep people engaged. And I want to share a quote from, a paraphrase of a quote from Jessica Hish, who was part of the branding team and one of the BFF founding BFFs. And she said, one of the biggest criticisms of crypto and Web3 is that it's dominated by people who aren't necessarily approaching this new frontier with a critical eye to prioritize equal access and sustainability. BFF was created as a more open access community, hoping to bring more, of course, women and binary folks into the space, but in a way that is where we're all learning to this together, right? And each person that came on said, "Oh, I didn't really know anything about this," and then I started learning about it. Now, like, I guess I'm an OG now.
Like Mila Kunis was saying that, right? She was like, she's been in this space for a long time, and that long time is like just a couple of 4 years or 3 years or 2 years or something. But like, she was like, she's an OG.
I think she had a break between acting gigs, however long that was. And so like, she goes like, well, I guess I'll dive into this. And I was like, okay. So I think I love that attitude though. So what advice do you have for keeping conversations such as this open access, but still maintaining that closed community feel? Because you did have a sense of safety. I thought that was a big part of this. I got a big sense of safety and a lot of it and psychological safety as well, which is very important. Like, I did not feel weird after this being like, I don't know what that is, or to question things. And I think it was because of the feeling. So how do you maintain that openness, but then also intimacy?
This is one of my favorite things to talk about because it's one of my very passionate things to do in my own business. And that is that feeling of safety and openness at the same time, right? Everybody is okay here. Everybody is involved. But one of the things that I do, and the whole point of this is language, right? That this is language matters. So you've got to really be intentional about the language that you do use. In BFFs, in the BFF Minted event, for example, they did start off and talk throughout, and every individual talked about the fact that they didn't get it either, and they're still learning, and we're all here to learn together. Gwyneth Paltrow had a great segment where she was talking about that and then the impact, and that was right up at the very beginning of the event where, it was like, I love that we can, I'm paraphrasing, but she said essentially like, I love that we can all just get together and we can learn together, and that we can, be in I don't think she used the word safe place, but you can use that word even, and so the language throughout the event mattered. The tone mattered, and so in my own business, like I constantly work on, making this a safe place for you to ask the tech questions that you want to ask, but also it's humorous and it's fun, and it's we like to laugh and giggle, right? And that's the environment you have to be intentional about the environment that you create. And so, you do that through all of the pieces, and intention is the name of the game.
I love that. And you're correct that they did the language that they used and the way they described it, and the fact that in the middle of the broadcast they did a whole like vocabulary like this is what
Yes.
this means and this is what that means, and then like they took the time to explain like blockchain
Mhm.
and blockchain. I was like, oh, I was like, I was in the middle of like my son does robotics. I was in the middle of a robotics competition. Like, blah, I get it now. It's like little sign. I get it. Like, that was a
Yeah.
very like close and intimate moment in an open space right there. So.
Yeah, for sure. And it also, in terms of the like close knit community, right? That comes in the form of like Discord,
Yeah.
and where you can have those deeper conversations. And by the way, I should point out that BFF Minted is not just a 2-hour event that's over and
No.
done with, right? They have like, you should follow their YouTube channel. They're doing more there. Their Discord, like they have a big community that is constantly producing, new things and connecting each other. And so it's a really powerful space. And so I would just encourage you I don't want to give off the impression it was just this event, and you can see how they do that in terms of creating that open space, but close-knit community.
And if I'm not mistaken, BFF Minted was a play on words because it's a currency, but BFF is the group, and that's the community that still goes on. That's still like if you look it up, and I did, you can see that they
Yeah.
like they have this whole like they have all these other places where you can go where this knowledge doesn't just begin or end at this broadcast. But yeah, I thought it was really cute though play on the minted part because it was currency. I love that. So I want to hold space for you. And my last question to you, and please take as much time as you want, is, I want to talk about, your own community and how your company, your business, Live Streaming Pros, fosters, inspires creativity in your community. And you can see how much they love you, how you've built this great space. You and Callie working together have created this great space. What are your students, your community's live streaming success stories?
So many. But you're right. Like this is, I like to think of our community as one of the best communities online, because they're very positive. They're helpful for each other, and they support each other through their wins, through their fails, through all of the things. And we have done an amazing job creating this sense of positivity inside of the community. And I think that again goes back to that conversation about intention and what are you trying to create. You are in full control over the environment that you create. And through that, right, through the different efforts that we do and our trainings, right, we have courses and a YouTube channel and all the things, remote production services, like all of the things, right, studio builds, but like those things start the process of fostering student success stories. There's one of my favorite stories is Christian Reddy, his channel, astronomer. Oh crap. Astronomy. Okay, Callie's going to put it in chat. But Christian Reddy has blown up. He's at 188,000 subscribers now on his YouTube channel. And he has had over 6,000 simultaneous live viewers on his live streams because he has learned the art of talking to his community, being his own personality. He's not bubbly like me, right? He is his own personality, and his audience eats it up. He's an amazing personality. And he has learned also the art that we always talk about of tapping into exciting new things happening in your industry, right? Launchpad astronomy. I'm sorry, Christian. I say that all the time. And then when I'm on screen and need to pull it, I'm like, that's what happens when you're live. So, with his topic, he taps into the industry things that are happening, right? And that gains the audience's trust. That it places him on the forefront of his industry. So there are a lot of amazing things that he's done. McCann Dogs also just hit 900,000 subscribers, and they do dog training on their channel. It was so funny. Actually, I texted Ken from McCann Dogs the other day because I saw a random post on Facebook about like dogs or something, and then somebody in the comments put like, oh, check out McCann Dogs. There was no correlation between our community and that post, and I was like, oh my god, that's amazing. Like they're getting seen, like, and they're just blowing up. So I just, those are a couple of stories. You can use live. We have students who have done wonders for their business. One person actually, this is really inspiring for a lot of people, but one person actually had waited for a year to go live. And she told me that I convinced her that she needed to go live, and she has like a kind of a DIY business. And she knew she needed to. She was planning on it, just never did. And then after that year, she was like, okay, finally, I'm going to do it. She went live, grew her entire business by 30% that year over year. What if she had started that a year earlier? You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy stuff. So there are a lot of success stories. There are a lot of use cases. But I'm so honored. Like, we started this at the beginning. I was like, okay, let's stop talking about me. Like, the reason that I do what I do is to see people step into their power through live video, and really embrace their own unique magic, and when you do that, it's not just about going live. It's about finding your inner awesome and putting that out so that you can have a bigger impact in the world. And that is what I live for day in and day out. It's not teaching people how to live stream, right? It's about that core concept through a live stream. And live streaming is one of the most powerful ways to accomplish that.
I love that. And just to build on what you just said, like, you don't have to be bubbly and outgoing and listen. Although there was a comment here about how you kept your community sustained through basically through lockdown. Oh, here it is. Let's see if I can pull that up. It says, your attitude is contagious. It's sometimes hard to keep that kind of attitude when you're basically on lockdown, but you helped us carry that attitude over to our own live streams.
That's awesome. So I love that.
That was from Debbie J. Crafting
Thank you,
Corner.
Debbie.
So I love that. Absolutely. But you don't have to be like this. You can be yourself. And the video series on YouTube that I'm totally invested in right now is this guy that takes floor plans. He's an architect and he deletes everything, and then he's just like, this is how I would do this apartment better. And like, that's all he's doing, is he's just redoing these little and I'm like, tell me more about where the bathroom should go. And then he took it to the next step. He does these live where he'll be like, do you like this kitchen here, or do you like this kitchen here? And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm literally like this hours. So, look, if moving walls and windows is your thing, I'm there for it. Okay.
You are hilarious.
Literally all day long. Like,
oh my God.
I will hyper focus on this and then move on to something else in a few weeks. But for right now, this is my whole personality.
Spot.
So Luria, as we're wrapping up today, please tell us and our audience where we can find out more about you and, of course, your services and your company and your community. Tell us where all the magic is.
Well, I'll just point you to two places. The YouTube channel, I would love for you to come hang out with us on streams. Every Friday, we go live at 10 a.m. Pacific, maybe do a little bit of training on something, but also have open Q&A so that you can get your questions answered and you can really see the core of the community there. And if you're in like the services that our production company provides, is at remoteproduction.live.
Remoteproduction.live.
It's like It was that Christian. It was that Launchpad astronomy moment there. But yeah, so like services are there, and I would really love to just come hang out hang out with you on our streams.
Absolutely. And are you still doing the like studio setups and stuff? Like you go to people's
Yeah.
places? Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, you
that's
can do
a
it remotely
possibility.
too, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah.
You're right.
We do have the technology to do that. So. Absolutely. Well, thank you everyone in our audience for joining us today, for joining us for Creator Spotlight from Restream with Luria Petrucci. And thank you to Randy, who is my behind the scenes go-to
Yes. Thank you,
partner
Randy.
who is running the show. So, and with that, thank you so much. And we will be back next in 2 weeks with
Yes.
another interview. Luria, you've been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much for having me. It's been a joy. Bye.
Bye.